ask, like how did we get, as far as how did the Quiet Riot thing become? How did Ozzy Osbourne become? Was it through networking? Did they reach out? Were you reaching out? How did you make that connection?
That's a really good question, and I have to go back to 1979 when Ozzy was looking for a band. He had just been kicked out of Black Sabbath, and he was putting together a band. And he winds up in LA. And there is this bass player, an old friend, Dana Strum. He's the bassist for the band Slaughter. Uh, he was a big fan of Randy. They were, and he will always try to get Randy out of Quiet Riot to bigger things. And so the opportunity came that, of Ozzy being able to introduce Randy to Ozzy. So Randy declined a bunch of times because Randy, he was really, Quiet Riot was really his baby. He was there. He's the founding member. He's the guy who put together Quiet Riot, the band. Uh, Kevin came up with the name, Kevin DeBro, when he asked a musician, a guitar player from an English band, it might have been Status Quo, what would be a cool name? And he said, Quite Right, Quite Right.
That's funny.
And so Kevin heard quite with that accent. He thought he meant Quiet Riot. So that was the name. It went from Little Women to Quiet Riot. You know. So
Wow.
fast forward to 1979. So Dana kept calling uh, Randy, to go on audition for Ozzy, and we in the band Quiet Riot, we were banging our heads against the wall trying to get a record deal because at that time the record companies in LA only were interested in signing new wave and punk bands because that's what was big on the radio.
Yep.
And so Randy's mom says, you know what? If you don't look out after this audition, you might be losing on probably, the only chance you're gonna get, you know, to play in the big time. And so he did. Randy went out and auditioned for Ozzy. And even before, as Randy was tuning and just warming up, Ozzy tells Dana, Ozzy was in the control room. They didn't even see each other. Randy was in the studio of the recording studio, the room, the
Yep.
recording area, and Ozzy and Dana were in the control room. So Ozzy turns to Dana and says, "Tell him he's got the gig," just like that.
Nice.
And so Dana, so he leaves. Ozzy leaves, and Dana goes in Dana goes in the room where he had this little amplifier set up and he was playing the guitar. And Randy goes, "So is Ozzy here?" And he says, "Yeah, he just saw you play." And he says, "You got the gig." And he said, "But I was just tuning up." and,
That's
and that's
awesome.
how he got the gig.
That's
You
wild.
know, it's one thing about Ozzy, which is pretty incredible because I saw him do it so many times. He had this gut instinct about things. Yeah, and people, mostly people. He would just like he would know right away if it was going to work or not. And when I say work, I mean at the level of a Black Sabbath
Well, yeah.
work.
What?
If
Yeah.
he had that magic, you know.
That's
So
crazy, man.
yeah, that's and then so Randy leaves in 1979, and during 1980 and early 81, they recorded the Blizzard of Oz and Diary of a Madman records.
Yep.
80, early 81. Okay, so 81, 82. So they recording in 1980 because, Randy left in November. And I think pretty much immediately after that, when Randy got to England, Bob Daisley came in. But they had issues finding the right drummer. So many drummers, big time drummers that I know that personally have told me, you know what, Ozzy called me up. to join the band, but I didn't want to do it because who knew?
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
who knew that it was going to be such a such a legendary lineup? Uh,
don't know.
It's nuts, man.
so they got Lee Kerslake, kind of like a little bit, a few months after they started writing. That's why on the first record there's not as many writing credits for the songs for Lee Kerslake as there were on Diary of a Madman. There were way more because of course he was already in the band.
Cool.